Today, Somewhere on Earth invites you to Tasmania, where the Pacific and Indian Oceans meet, in the roaring Forties, south of Australia. Tasmania is a land inaccessible in places, where the dense forests go right down to the sea. Richard Bennet lives on Bruny, a little island off Hobart, the largest town in Tasmania. On this slip of land, this photographer has found the light, colors, and the seascapes that never cease to delight him. Steve, a former ranger, likes to explore the forest on the lookout for trees that could very well go unnoticed. And yet, they are nicknamed yellow gold. Huon Pine trees can live as long as 10,000 years. They are one of the oldest forms of life on our planet. Steve is one of the rare people able to recognize them in this forest. Liam and James are two brothers wild about surfing and deserted beaches. Their passion leads them into the heart of the bush. Tasmania is their playground.
It's really empowering. It makes you feel like you're able to survive on your own. There's nothing, there's no houses, there's no roads, there's no cars, there's no anything. It's just us, the ocean, the bush.
Its geographical situation makes Tasmania an island destined to remain in the shadow of the Australian giant. Its isolation has ensured its protection. Its land and vegetation are unspoiled. Tasmania, discovered in the 17th century, became a port of call for famous navigators. Its coasts have always been buffeted by the violence of ocean, waves, and wind. For a long time, the interior of the island remained inaccessible to the rare sailors who landed here. Geographers and sailors gave it a concrete existence. They charted its coastlines and made it known to the world. From that point on, those who chose to remain here were men in the image of the island, genuine and solid. The island has changed little since the arrival of the Europeans. Richard has lived here for some time now, off the coast of Tasmania's largest town, Hobart.
I like space. I like to be able to light a fire, to cook on a fire, and I like to be able to go and anchor in a bay and be the only people there and not see other people. Getting up early and going out when the tide's coming in the morning, the fish seem to like that particularly well. But then, given that we live in the roaring Forties, where the weather is often windy and wet, we need to take the opportunity to fish when conditions are reasonable. I think that's the secret, and we seem to have a fish. Voila! I made my living doing the things that I enjoy. I bushwalked and published books, and I photographed the Sydney Hobart yacht race because it's photography that I love, and I do it from aircraft that I find very exciting. So I built my career around doing what I wanted to do. I don't really do much that I don't want to do. It is a Port Jackson shark. We will let him go. I don't eat sharks.
Richard particularly enjoys these moments of peace and quiet when he returns home from his expeditions through the Tasmanian bush. The photographer frequently travels across these wide open spaces.
Wilderness has the wonderful effect of giving your emotions a workout. You get cold, you get hot, you get tired, you get hungry, you get wet, you get thirsty, and sometimes you become afraid, and you become excited, and you come home with a feeling of I guess spiritual satisfaction in having spent some quiet times in the wilderness, and then you look back at your busy life and you see it with a perspective, because you've had the opportunity to get away from it for a little while.
Bruny is a small Tasmanian island. Richard chose to live here for its light and its landscapes. He calls himself a painter of still images. He has the soul of a vagabond, and what he likes most is wandering. For him, every moment has its own emotional color.
Wherever you go in the world, there are very subtle differences in the colours, in the palette of the landscape. And you get a different shade to the sea here in the Southern Ocean to the colours a little bit further north. And the beaches are different. They're subtly different in softness or hardness to walk on, and the colour of the sand varies, and also the interaction of lagoons and creeks and water with the sand forms unique patterns that become like a signature to a particular place that is unique.
Crossing this little island from north to south is like approaching the ends of the earth. This lighthouse is a last landmark, a final reminder on this little island before miles and miles of ocean. They are no more than a handful, the sailors who give this lighthouse one last glance as they head south on their way towards higher latitudes, towards the mythical land of ice.
Well, this is the southernmost part of Australia, and Antarctica is due south that way. There is no land apart from Macquarie Island between here and Antarctica.
Tasmania may be a slightly forgotten island, but its port, Hobart, is known to scientists the world over. This is where they embark for 20 days at sea on their way to Antarctica. The mission of the famous French ship, the Astrolabe, is to supply the research station of Dumont d'Urville, where hundreds of scientists are based. In the southern hemisphere, the summer from October to March is when the ice floe breaks up. At last, the trip is possible. Scientists from the four corners of the Earth have managed to protect the Antarctic's land of ice. The South Pole has become a global sanctuary. Tasmanians are very committed to keeping their lands unspoiled. Today, entire regions of the island are World Heritage Sites. And Richard is one of those with a deep respect for nature. Richard likes these moments when time seems suspended, holding its breath. Here, two opposing influences sometimes give birth to impressive storms. This strip of sand is a fragile border between two of the world's largest oceans. On one side, the Indian Ocean. On the other, the Pacific.
I think being close to the Southern Ocean always gives a unique atmosphere. There's a wildness to the landscape, and I seem to be happy when I'm in wild places. I like storms in particular. I photograph storms, and memorable times in the bush have been in enduring storms. I think we become very insignificant compared with the unpredictable power of nature. The ocean is very unforgiving, and it goes on unrelenting forever.
Richard's reputation as a photographer is due largely to his pictures of the annual Sydney Hobart race, one of the world's most prestigious regattas. Each of his photos tells the story of the crews that come to take up the challenge. Richard knows them all. He's been photographing them for 40 years. Land, sea, and sky. Richard has a passion for aerial photography. There's nothing like the light of dawn to take the little island of Bruny by surprise.
Tasmania is a photographer's paradise. There's so much variety, and it changes with seasons, and being such a small island, it's so compact, so there's endless variety. I just love aircraft, and it's like a magic carpet, and having a bird's eye view of the world. And the wonderful thing about an aircraft is you can move quickly, and you can change your position, and you can see the changing light around the subject as you move. And you can move in close and get high and low, and aerial photographs have impact because not many people see the landscape from the air.
On the little island of Bruny, Richard has managed to create the life he dreamed of. Tasmanian born, he has never left this land. Tasmania resembles those who live here. Its people defend and protect it. It lives within them all. It is part of them. Steve is a former ranger. He has roamed this forest all his life. This is where he saw his very first Huon pine tree. This tree might go unnoticed, but for one particularity that makes it unique in the world. The oldest of them can be 10,000 years old. These exceptional trees grow only 1 or 2 millimeters a year. This very slow growth allows them to survive for centuries and centuries. Reaching them is a real challenge.
Oh, it's good technical fun and gives you a good workout. But when you're on a serious expedition, getting through that can slow your travel down to less than 1 kilometre a day. And therefore you've got to really plan for the trip.
He starts his expedition with a visit to an old friend. For Steve, this tree is one of the most representative of its species. You could pass right by it without noticing it. The height of this Huon pine might not be impressive, but its breadth should command respect. Dozens of trunks feeding on one another.
This is a fascinating example of the way Huon pine can grow vegetatively. What happens is the tree can fall down for whatever reason. It can rot out at the base, but it doesn't necessarily have to die. What it can do is sprout again from the fallen trunk, and it can do that over and over again. And there's one example that we know of where the one single tree has been regenerating vegetatively like this for 10,000 years. And that's one of the oldest living single organisms that we know about.
And that's exactly what fascinates Steve about the Huon pine. Nature seems to defy the passing of time.
To spend a night up here in the far reaches of the Gordon River, where many miles from any road, many miles from any habitation, and it's a truly awesome experience. The forest comes alive at night. The forest animals sleep in the daytime, and I can lie in my tent and hear the forest live. And it's just really wonderful to be out here. The adventure to the big tree is more philosophical in a way. We don't need necessarily to go and inspect it personally, but it means a lot to me personally to know that that tree, that particular individual tree, is still there and is standing and is healthy, and it is an adventure.
Steve is so committed because these trees almost disappeared. When the English took over Tasmania at the beginning of the 19th century, they needed wood to repair and construct boats. That was the beginning of an inexorable process of destruction. With its slow growth, the Huon pine produces very dense, robust wood, rich in essential oil. It became very sought after for its exceptional qualities. Above all, its resistance to seawater. It is the perfect wood for boat building. This sailboat, the Gypsy, was built in 1914 out of Huon Pine. Steve is often on board, and this boat is a reminder. He and Chris, head of the Strahan Rangers, are trying to protect these trees.
So, Steve, you'll be leaving by seaplane from Strahan.
Yes.
And you'll be flying through to the mouth of the Gordon.
Right.
Coming up to the Gordon. And
Yeah,
look at these.
capture that one in here.
Capture these trees in here. Because
The Rangers know full well that this vulnerable forest needs to be protected. Chris also likes this otherworldly place. He and Steve organize reconnaissance missions together.
Not a worry.
The thing to be really careful with the river, as you know, Steve, is that if we get rain, the river can rise really fast. Navigating in this country is really dangerous. And we just evacuated a guy the other night from here for snake bite.
Oh, right. Yes, snakes are an interesting problem right now.
They're moving. They're very
moving,
active.
yes.
And they're even in their forests, they're active.
Well, when I see the view from the air, I realise just how privileged I am to be able to see it from the air. It's a rare privilege. How large the Earth actually is. And it's really interesting to be on a part of the Earth where the impact of man is so limited. It brings back to the reality of the real world, the way it was.
The only way to get deeper into the forest is by seaplane. Flying is not always possible. Violent winds and even snowstorms sometimes blow up in this region of western Tasmania, even in summer. Not to mention the ever-present mist.
The cloud looks very romantic. The fog in the valleys is very atmospheric, but if the aircraft gets lost in that fog, it can be extremely dangerous because the mountains are much higher than we're flying, and we're flying visual. We hold our breath that we don't get too cloud bound. Very dramatic landing. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, it's a great spot.
Okay, thanks very much.
No worries, eh? Have a good trip.
That was a good flight.
Cheers.
And I'll see you later when you catch it.
See ya.
See ya.
In order to carry out his mission, Steve heads up the Gordon River. Apart from seaplane, the river is the only possible way for him to get into the heart of the forest. Along these banks is the site of unbridled nature. The Huon pines used to grow thick along these banks, like a lost tribe reigning over the river, long before man did. Highly prized for its golden yellow wood, the Huon pine was overexploited. Today, there's nothing left of those landscapes. Except here. This Huon pine is a vestige of the past, a survivor of a very somber chapter of Tasmania's history. As he goes up the Gordon River, Steve travels back in time. In the 19th century, all the Huon pines growing along these banks were systematically cut down for boat building. All those accessible from the water met the same fate, which makes the tree even more precious today. Steve has always fought for this forest to keep its soul, by protesting dam projects, then later by fighting against erosion. By coming back here to the banks of the Gordon River, he's making sure that his commitment is still bearing fruit.
We will attempt to relocate them, but it's a real expedition because it was decided that we wouldn't mark the site with a track or tapes so that the site would be truly protected. And the best way it could be protected is for people not to know where it is. If people knew where it is, then the site might be abused. So our philosophy has been that if people want to try hard enough to go and find the sites, they're welcome to. It's a public national park, but we won't go to any length of effort to assist them.
Steve always thinks of his ancestors when he comes here, because the Gordon River was also the scene of a human tragedy. Tasmania, a far-off land for the English, was first used by them as a penal colony. Convicts sentenced to hard labor were forced to cut down Huon pines. Many of them died of exhaustion or disease. The Gordon River would be their final resting place.
It's very easy to get lost in the forest. The forest has no particular features anywhere. It's a big lowland with very thick forest. So you have to be careful with the use of a compass to make sure you can get back to the river, which is where you can locate your position again with the GPS. Oh, people have been lost. People, highly experienced people, have wandered off into the bush thinking that they knew their way around, not even particularly thinking of going far, and then discovered that they couldn't tell which way the river was because the cloud covered the sun. The forest didn't have any particular features, so it was impossible to tell which way the river was. And they would wander around in circles for quite a while, and in the case I'm thinking about, they were very lucky to stumble back to the river before dark.
Steve is well aware of these dangers, but still he always goes that little bit further, because he knows that somewhere in this forest, other specimens might be hiding. That's what pushes him, discovering Huon pines, listing them, and especially noting their location. For the last few years, there has been strict protection for the Huon pine. Their exploitation is totally prohibited. Only the old stumps left by the convicts can still be used. Its wood has become so precious, it's been named yellow gold.
There's only 3 areas left in southwest Tasmania where these big old fellas still live. This is one of them, and we're in a little forest here, and I can look around and I can see another tree over there that would be 2,000 years old, and I passed one a little further back there that would be similar, and we have a beautiful little copse of trees here that are all truly ancient, thousands of years old, literally. Well, the southwest wilderness is huge. It covers 20% of Tasmania, and we only found this by accident. So, sure, there may be other coops of trees, maybe some even more old, more ancient. It'll be great fun to go and find them, yeah. We had an idea it was here. We heard a report that it was here, but we hadn't come and found out and recorded it. And now we know about it, and we can take special care to make sure that these trees continue to do their thing, yeah.
Back from his expedition, Steve keeps quiet about his discoveries. Except to Chris. Protecting Huon pines requires discretion. This is a way of paying homage to these venerable trees. In Steve's eyes, these amazing trees, capable of being born again from their own remains, seem like the last masters of time.
I really like the energy of the sea, and it's a really good source of handle material. Quite often there's some really nice bits of driftwood or bone. You know, I get now and then I get some whalebone, or there's all sorts of things wash up on the seashores.
Precisely. This ordinary piece of wood that looks quite dull is actually a whalebone, washed up onto the sand one stormy day. When John came here 20 years ago, he discovered a passion for a trade that had almost disappeared. John is one of the last blacksmiths in Tasmania.
I think anything that's been made with passion absorbs the energy of the maker. because you're handling it, you're touching it. And I don't think it's such a big deal. You know, it doesn't mean to say I have to make a religion out of it. It's just energy, and the actual elements that are in the knife absorb the energy of the maker, and people can pick that knife up or whatever that's been made by hand, and they can feel that energy in it. Rubber ducky, you're the one. You make me feel like so much fun. This is great, just lying back looking at the clouds and listening to the birds and watching the trees, just relaxing. You couldn't do this in the city, could you? Yeah, this is purely Tasmanian, this one. Yep, 100%. That's a good idea, to sit in amongst the bush. That's great. Relax, stress relief, it's good.
Hey, John.
Hey, Wayne, how you going, dude?
John is known in the region for making solid knives that are perfect for the bush. He says that his reputation has traveled well beyond Tasmania. He has, he says, even forged blades for samurai swords.
But it's got to be solid.
Yeah, oh yeah, really strong
It's really solid,
a high chrome
Yeah, right.
stainless steel. We could use a bit of red gum. That's pretty solid wood. They make railway sleepers out of that.
Yeah, right.
Or actually, something you can grab onto, a bit of antler.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Toby uses that out at sea for antler filleting fish, because, you know, you got, in rough weather and that, you know, you got something to grip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, right.
yeah. And that's a good idea, I mean.
John knows the two Corey brothers well. Liam and James are surfers. What they like is going off together on expeditions lasting days and days, far away from Hobart, the city where they live. Liam, the elder brother, is a nurse. James, the younger brother, is a medical student. Both brothers love this maverick life. Thanks to their father, they both learned very young how to make do with nothing or next to nothing.
That's the plan to go down Saturday.
Yeah.
We could,
This morning, the swell looks promising. They're in luck. As they spend all their free time in search of waves, they always leave at the drop of a hat.
basically looking at riding our bikes with all our equipment into the southwest World Heritage area, which takes up sort of 1/3 of Tasmania. And we will ride our bikes for some time into where the road finishes, and then we will take our backpacks and our surfboards and walk down to the southwest coast. People call you crazy, but when you do it very regularly, it's not to us. It's not crazy. It's normal and it's perfect and it's really good.
So these are my 4 little beautiful chooks, a couple of ducks. Ducks are called Darth and Vader. Chooks don't have names, but they lay lots of really good eggs. And over here, got big crop, corn up there, tomatoes, peas, most of the veggies we need at the moment.
Out in the yard, there are hundreds of bicycles, from old models to recent ones. Liam is known far and wide for his passion for two-wheelers. Little by little, he has become the local bike repairman. At his home, there are bicycles everywhere, and sometimes even where you would least expect them. The bicycle gives the two brothers a chance to take advantage of the country. They like open space, having the horizon for themselves, and feeling alone in the world. like here at Pedder Lake. Situated in the very heart of Tasmania, Pedder Lake is the largest body of fresh water in Australia. In the 1970s, several large dams were built here, causing vast stretches of sandy beaches to disappear. The Tasmanians were scandalized and became ardent defenders of their island. Today, this spot symbolizes the fight to safeguard Tasmania. Liam and James have to travel several hundred kilometers. They both take part from time to time in triathlons. They both share the pleasure of pushing themselves to their limits.
Bike touring is just awesome, and doing it in Tassie to go surfing is just the ultimate combination, basically. Like, going on a surf trip is fun, going for a ride is fun. You put them together and you've got a lethal mix.
Yeah. For me, I think it's a pride, like a pride thing. You feel really proud that you've walked out your front door, you've got on your bike with all your gear, and you've ridden to wherever you're going. You've walked, surfed, whatever, come back all by yourself.
The waves of Tasmania's deserted beaches aren't easy to approach. You have to work for them. After cycling comes walking. From now on, our two surfers will carry only the bare essentials.
My 6'6" baby. She's long and she's slender.
Can you hear the surf? Well, the sun's just risen. That's nice. It's pretty early in the morning. It's about 6:30, and we've got about another 10 kilometres to go to where we're hoping to surf this morning. So just kind of cruising along.
Our two wave hunters are well aware that as far as the weather is concerned, nothing is certain, and the ocean has a mind of its own. A year ago, they spent several weeks roaming the wild coasts of Tasmania alone, with just their backpacks and their boards. They hiked along beaches and riverbanks where few people had walked before them, as there were neither paths nor posted trails.
There's a wave, there's a wave, there's a wave! So, looks like there might be a possibility that James will get a little ride out there. So if I try and get some dinner and he tries to get some waves, we should come up with the goods, hopefully.
Sounds all right.
eating shellfish like abalone, living simply. This is the brothers' lifestyle, one of the bases of their complicity. By becoming one with these places, they're letting nature guide them in their apprenticeship of life.
It's fantastic. Nothing better than paddling around out there with my brother, watching him catch some waves, finding a bit of dinner, seeing the sun come out every now and again. It's beautiful. Love this kind of life.
Wandering in this environment has always brought the two brothers closer together. On each stage of the journey, they learn something. On every beach, the currents and the winds are different. They have to know how to observe, to foresee the dangers so as to avoid traps.
It's really empowering. It makes you feel like you're able to survive on your own. There's nothing, there's no houses, there's no roads, there's no cars, there's no anything. It's just us, the ocean, the bush.
In Tasmania at least, like, I just always have days like this. And like when it usually comes home about when you're eating the abalone and the light gets good, sun setting, you've had a nice surf and a big walk, and you just go, shit, I could die. Like, we've sort of achieved perfection, you know? Like, that's a little bit how it feels, just when everything is so beautiful.
The two brothers never know in advance where their wanderings will lead them, if it's not to a beach. However, they have gained an intuitive knowledge of their island. It's ingrained in them.
I think it's really just the search for new places and new waves that's sort of driven us. Like, it's awesome to be out here. It's fun to camp. It's fun to fish, and it's the waves are really good. So the whole adventure's always worth it. But it's that sort of search for something new and something different and something that's a little bit off the beaten track that has driven us to have a look.
We're working on that. When you're spending days and days and days alone with your brother in the bush, if you're fighting, then it's not that fun. So
good opportunities for conflict resolution.
Yeah, good opportunities to be nice to each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is a good thing.
One of the best things about being out here is that it puts all the rest of your experiences in life into perspective and makes you enjoy everything a bit more, I think.
The quest for the perfect wave leads Liam and James to face many challenges. After days spent trekking through the bush, they give themselves up completely to the pleasures of surfing. They have the feeling that they've finally arrived somewhere. New Zealand. This group of islands in the South Pacific is the remnant of a sunken prehistoric continent. We'll be crossing South Island. It's the largest and the least populated, teeming with exuberant vegetation. Peter Geen used to be a farmer. He's traded in his tools for paintbrushes. He has set up his studio near some of the most stunning sights and travels the country to capture the light, settings, and impressions. Dave Downs spends a good deal of his time poking around the riverbeds of the Hokitika region, his practiced eye on the lookout for jade stones. This experienced jade hunter has a passion for these stones and hoards them like a treasure. Stewart Island off the south coast numbers 400 inhabitants. Farhana Ahmad is one of them. This young woman who talks with the birds was born in Kenya, grew up in England, and was an accountant before settling here in the roaring Forties.
I've travelled to a number of different places and lived in a number of different countries, and I just think it's a place of complete timeless beauty. It's a place that I'm really lucky to have found.
Aotearoa. In Maori, this means land of the long white cloud. This is the name the Maoris gave this unknown, uninhabited land when they came here from Polynesia about 800 years ago. After the early Maoris, it was a long time before other men reached this island far from anywhere. The first Europeans, the Dutch, arrived here less than 4 centuries ago. They named this country New Zealand after a maritime province of the Netherlands. This island, along with the Antarctic, is one of the last great territories discovered by man. This young land, with its short history, was preserved from human activity for a long time, which is why the wildlife in New Zealand is particularly rich, lush, and beautiful. Golden Bay. This is where Abel Tasman, the first European to land here, dropped anchor. There was also James Cook. With its 15,000 kilometers of coast, New Zealand is a land of mariners and sailing. Peter and his wife Carrie are out paddling on Golden Bay in the early light of dawn, but they're not doing it just for the exercise. Peter captures sensations. He seizes the different lights, reflections, and all the expressions of nature that he will rework later.
I take all the pictures I can, because it's a digital camera, and when I get home, I'll then put them onto my laptop and start whittling them down and refining until I finally see a photo that I think could make a good painting, and then and just watch it grow.
The reason I like that scene is mainly because it's a rock. It's solitude, it represents solitude. It's solid, it represents age. It's, been in all weathers, and there's just something nice about it, how it just sits there, reflecting, and it's just nice and peaceful, and sort of, it's a bit how I feel sometimes. It's a fantastic place to go, yes. Yes, you can always go around there and be guaranteed a painting from a trip around there in the kayak, that's for sure. I try to change the mood in the painting. I think that's probably what I do from the photograph. And it's my interpretation of what that photograph is.
New Zealanders are very ecology-minded, and Peter and Kerry are good examples. Their garden is thriving. The earth is generous. The climate, ideal.
Mostly, probably about 90% of our food we grow ourselves. Hey girls. It's a great healthy lifestyle. It's a good way to eat food that hasn't travelled any distance. We grow it ourselves without the use of sprays. So yes, it's a good feeling to eat good, clean food in an environment where we grow it ourselves.
And it's all under control. Organic, yes, but all the plants have to toe the line. Nothing out of line in this bucolic setting laid out by Peter and Kerry. For a long time, they themselves were producer of organic fruit and vegetables, first in Australia, then in New Zealand. It seems they've completely tamed nature here.
When you go to the supermarket, the food doesn't look like food anymore, not like the food that we used to, or our grandparents used to eat. It's hardly recognisable as food because there are so many ingredients in the food that I can't even pronounce. And it's a real paradox that we know more about food and nutrition than we've probably ever known in the world. And yet there's more sickness, there's more obesity and heart disease and cancer. And yeah, we wonder if it's not being caused by what people eat. That slow food revolution. It's grow the food as well as prepare it yourself. Sit down and enjoy it and honour the food that you eat. We prepare it as close as possible to Mother Nature has presented it to us.
Peter worked the land for 25 years. Then he put away his farming tools for good and took up the paintbrush. He transformed his hobby into a full-time activity. Peter regularly leaves his studio to head out on field trips, 2 or 3 days on the road in search of the most beautiful spots. And here he's certainly spoiled for choice.
Well, a field trip is basically information gathering. It's a way of getting out into the environment and living in the environment and smelling the environment and what have you, and absorbing the necessary ingredients to take back to the studio to work with. There's still a few spots out there yet to be discovered, but there's a lot of places that we have been, that's for sure. There's 2 blues out there today. You've got the warm blue in the sky and the cooler blue in the estuary. And yeah, I think 2 colours of blue like that in one image is really a real treat. And yeah, and they've got the contrast of the orange on the cliffs. And yeah, there's some lovely colour out there today.
New Zealand is a vast country, but you only need to go a few dozen kilometers to find yourself in a totally different landscape. From the sea to the mountains, the transition is quite abrupt.
It's very dry, isn't it? Yeah.
And each time the surprising settings take the traveler on a voyage through time.
It's in its raw state and it's very natural. The landscape can tell me a lot, and I can get a lot of ideas, and I can add that to other paintings that I do. It's just been left alone, and it's happened over a long, long period of time. And if you leave it alone and let it go and do its own natural thing, it'll look beautiful one day.
The entire west coast of South Island gets heavy rains. Between downpours, the sky clears up, and the sun pours down into these valleys of the rainforest thick with tree ferns. Nature offers the painter a rich palette of greens. Peter's camping car serves as his second studio. And Peter and Carrie have been traveling like this ever since they met. The camping car even played an important role when they first met.
Well, that wasn't in New Zealand actually, that was in Australia. Kerry was cycling from Tasmania up to Queensland, and I was travelling on my own in a Volkswagen Combi, and we met, and suddenly the bike got sold, and we started travelling in the Combi, and we've been together ever since. We've always worked together, we've always been self-employed, and we enjoy each other's company profusely, and yeah, we love each other very much. Bit of erosion up there though.
I think Peter needs a break so he can get into the environment, and I like to come with him. So yeah, he needs to get out, and I think he sees almost every time he goes on a field trip, he comes back full of inspiration. He's got to get into a painting really quickly. So yeah, it's good for him.
I can't believe it. You see anything? We're looking for New Zealand power, or abalone, but there doesn't seem to be much here today. We may have to trek down to the other end of the beach. Ah, look. Kerry?
The abalone is a strange marine gastropod that spends its life stuck fast to the rocks. The inner side of its ear-shaped shell is covered with beautiful and valuable nacre.
Peter, is that long enough?
But here, Peter is after its delicious flesh. Abalone are plentiful here on the west coast of New Zealand.
That should be enough. Turn it over and check the size. Yep.
And Peter's little escapades always finish in the same way, with the painter alone before his canvas, working doggedly for days and days to distill the images stored in his head.
A photo will only capture a certain amount of information that I require, and I'll further that, and that's the advantage of doing a field trip. So I bring the landscape to me. I enjoy being in the natural environment, and I certainly have a great appreciation for it. particularly the undisturbed natural environment, and by that I mean environments that haven't been modified by man. You know, I mean, a tree like this, for example, is living a pretty tough life, as you can see. You know, its face is into the wind and it's getting a pretty hard time, and I think that's deserving of some sort of recognition, I suppose. So that's really why I paint a subject like this.
With Peter's high-definition landscapes, it's sometimes hard to tell the difference between reality and the painting. Peter has chosen to portray what is beautiful, naturally beautiful. And such is his love for his models that he always tends to sublimate these images of nature that he is so fond of.
I like to come on site and bring the painting back towards the very end of the painting process. It certainly helps put some truth and honesty into the painting. Sometimes it's quite difficult because the paintings are big and the easels are big and I've got to lug all my equipment to the site, and if it's a long way away it's quite a mission, but sometimes the final touches that you see the most, so it is important.
Peter Geen is now a recognized artist in his country. But this regionalist painter, as he calls himself, is above all happy to have fulfilled his dream, to live for painting and to continue to take delight in the impressive variety of these landscapes. The west coast of South Island faces the Tasman Sea. The banks of clouds that form in the middle of the Pacific roll in from the northwest. The west coast is virgin territory, pioneer country. A 150 years ago, this hostile region, wild and practically uninhabited, was the scene of a sudden massive influx of migrants. When prospectors discovered huge nuggets of gold here in 1860, the news spread like wildfire. From one day to the next, tens of thousands of people from all over the world flocked to this west coast to try their luck. Towns popped up like mushrooms, with their saloons, hotels, brothels, and tradesfolk that followed in the wake of the prospectors. They even quickly built a dock in Hokitika for the many boats bringing in new arrivals. The California gold rush had already petered out, so New Zealand appeared as the new Far West. And so many came, all lured by dreams of riches. In a few years, the West Coast was transformed, ravaged, and a good number of valleys were leveled by the miners who laid waste to entire hillsides in their quest for the coveted gold. And as always, the fever eventually dropped, almost as abruptly as it had broken out. Now there are still a few active mines, but the fantastic nuggets weighing several kilos are a thing of the past. Gold no longer fires the imagination. However, there are still some people who search the rivers of the Hokitika region.
Well, if you don't care if you get wet, it doesn't matter. See, them rocks are slippery, aren't they? You've got to be really careful. The water's nice and clear, though. Grab that view, Al. You see how it breaks the water?
Today, Dave Downs has brought his grandchildren along with him. This young, attentive grandfather wants to share his quest with them.
Looking for Ponamu, greenstone. Just gets washed down on the hills and into the river. When it rains and it floods, it comes up real high. You could see along the banks how high it will get, and it turns it over like a washing machine. So you've got more chance of finding the stone once it's turned over. It's really good. When it's on the bank, it dries out and it just looks like the normal stones. But when it's wet in the river, it's a bit easier to find. Think so? No, there's a big chip. See that, Rat? Yep. That's it. Yeah, it's a tradition. Goes down through the generations of children. If we don't teach them the outdoors, they won't go the outdoors. The TV, video games.
The region of Hokitika is the place in New Zealand to find jade. For the untrained eye, these thousands of stones all look alike, and the ordinary hiker could pass through here without noticing the rare stone. Dave, however, is always on the lookout.
No, look at that. There. See it? Have a look. What do you think?
And Dave certainly has a sharp eye.
You see how it's grey-white? Hold that down. See it, Rat? Look at that. See it? Look at that. Look at the green in that. We might make you meaty out of that, eh? What do you reckon? Yep. Feel how heavy that is. I'll hold that. Got it? Pretty heavy, eh? Yeah. Feel it? It's just luck. A lot of luck's involved. The more time you come, the more chance you got of finding the stone. And that's all it is. Luck and time.
Dave loves stones so much, he's surrounded his house with them. But the most surprising thing is out in his shed. This is where he keeps his treasure. 20 years of collecting jade stones. Stones he loves so much, he doesn't even cut them open to see how pure they are. He lets them keep their mystery. His whole fortune and history is contained in these piles of jade stones.
It's a passion. It's a passion. There's browns, greens. The browns are beautiful. These are very, very rare stones. You see the brown crust in those. This is a beautiful Arahura chip. Look at the colour in that. It's marvellous. When I first started, it was for the commercial side of it. I was going to make a lot of money on it. Then I cut a few. I've still got them. I haven't got the money for them. Something grabs you and draws you into the stone. It's not just a Mary thing. It's not just a mouldy thing. It's just the stone. Of course it's a treasure. isn't it? You've been on the river looking for treasures? Yeah, there's another one. So once you cut it, you just turn it into a rock. It's not pounamu. It hasn't got the character. You have to go out, you have to get in the environment and feel the tanga, I think the Māori call it.
Jade has been present in this region since the dawn of time. As a result of geological transformations, jade deposits formed deep within the earth. When the southern Alps were formed by upthrust just inland of the west coast, the deposits of jade were lifted to the Earth's surface. Much later, the glaciers carried the stones towards the valleys and towards the sea. And when the glaciers began to melt, they deposited these stones in the riverbeds of the west coast. The first Maori to land on this island named it Te Wai Punamu, which means waters of greenstone, or land of jade. This green stone played an essential role in their life. They used it to make jewelry and weapons, and they considered this stone as a link with their ancestors. It had not only material value, but also great spiritual value. Since the arrival of the Maori, a great quantity of jade has been gathered from the rivers and along the beaches. Now, no one knows exactly how much is still left in the rivers. The deposits have been scattered to many different spots. But even today, the Maori have managed to preserve the traditional methods. The jade must always be collected by hand. Dave works in a dairy to feed his family. Milk is New Zealand's white gold. Jade cutting is not his profession, just a side job. And when Dave cuts jade, he works with stones that he buys from other collectors, just so he never has to touch his personal collection. And yet, here, Dave is cutting the stone he has just found in the river. He has a good reason for making this exception today.
This is a gift for my grandson. It's a mere that the Maoris used to use for self-defence when they were first out here. Because the stone is so hard, you can get a fine shape to it and becomes a good sharp weapon. This will be just for show.
Dave, who has Irish roots, has been a New Zealander for 2 generations. He's interested in the history of this jade that's so important for the Maori.
Let's go, Lono!
When he's not searching the riverbeds, Dave spends his free time with the Kiwis, one of Hokitik's 2 rugby teams.
Relax.
Rugby is a veritable social and cultural phenomenon here. And again, we find the mark of the Maori culture in the haka, the impressive warm-up routine made famous by the All Blacks. For Dave, rugby is like his stones, a fervent passion. He used to play himself. Now he's a trainer / physical therapist and all-round loudmouth for the Kiwis.
Jersey, you play for your club, your jersey. It's you put it all on the line. All these boys work all week, out on the rugby field. That's their time out by themselves. That's the man stuff from when they're little. Yeah, we won. 36-28. We should have got 50. We've still got a bit of work to do. But this is the derby. This is the main game of this round so far. They're the top team. We just took them out.
Dave is a perfect example of what they call here the West Coast spirit. A tough spirit, sometimes a bit rough around the edges, but as genuine as the region itself. Dave has his own secret hunting grounds, and he sometimes has to hike for hours to reach them. This quest for jade is not as obsessive as the gold fever that afflicted thousands of adventurers 150 years ago. But Dave does always feel the irresistible urge to follow the river all the way up to its source in search of that special, rare stone.
There's a piece of rubbish. No colour in it, but it's a bit of stone.
His passion for these stones seems boundless, and no bed of rocks, no matter how large, can dampen his enthusiasm.
This is the Kawaka, but the water runs under the loose rocks, and as you get up round the corner up there, the water's in there, and it must go under the ground and then down and out into the Arahura River. When it's in flood, it's way up on the banks. I found rocks down here, big brown ones, 20 pound, but that's after the flood. We might be a couple of days late, but you don't know. Doesn't matter, does it? Ponamu's a bonus, you know. Don't get me wrong, it's good to find the Ponamu. But, you know, look at it. It's a lovely day. What else would we be doing? Got to get away from work. Yeah. It's lovely, peaceful.
Just getting to Stewart Island is already an adventure. Whether it's by boat or in the small airplane that makes the connection, the crossing to this region off the coast of South Island is a real expedition. The currents are strong and the ocean is rarely calm, and the winds are as free as the air. Stewart Island is so wild that the first ones to greet the visitor are the albatross. Do they come out of boredom, idle curiosity, or to see if there's some kind of snack for them? A bit of all three, probably. At 47 degrees south, Stewart Island is right in the heart of the roaring Forties. Nobody spends too much time here. Even the clouds seem to be in a hurry. Farhana Ahmad came to live in this wild paradise 14 years ago. She knows a good deal about the wildlife of Stewart Island. She knows the stories that come along with each different plant and tree.
This vine here is called supplejack, and you can see the top. It looks like asparagus, like a head of an asparagus. And Maori used to eat it. They used to break it and eat it, and it tastes like a green bean. And when they couldn't find running water, they used to cut stems of this, break it, and drink the sap. And as the vines became older, like this, Maori used to weave them and make fishing baskets out of them.
Furhana is 47 and has had a rather interesting life. She was born in Kenya. Her father was from India and her mother from the Seychelles. She studied business and geography in England and worked for about 10 years as an accountant in London. Then one day she turned her back on all that and decided to travel.
I came to New Zealand 16 and a half years ago, and I did a lot of hiking from the North Island, South Island and in Stewart Island, and I spent quite a number of years walking by myself in the forest and just watching and listening. Living in New Zealand gives you the encouragement to learn and find out more. So I did a lot of my own research.
After several years of backpacking, Furhana decided to settle on Stewart Island. In fact, she couldn't go any further. Continuing southward, the next stop would have been the Antarctic.
This is what Stewart Island roughly looks like. It's our third largest island. This is the west coast and the southern side, and then the Neck Peninsula, Patterson Inlet. 93% of this island is conservation land. It's in wilderness, it's uninhabited. 5% of Stewart Island around here is Maori land. And Maori arrived in Stewart Island in the 13th century, but they haven't lived here all the time. 2% of Stewart Island, mainly through here, is land available for private ownership. And there's only 28 kilometres of road. There's 750 kilometres of fabulous coastline. It's an amazing place.
Stewart Island is about 65 kilometers by 40, with only 400 inhabitants. And it's not an easy island to get to know. From the air, it's possible to get a view if you can dodge the downpours and gusts of wind. Coming in from the sea, you're often faced with a rather uninviting coastline. The only way to penetrate this territory is to hike for days and days, being careful not to stray from the paths, for the forest is impenetrable. Here, the vegetation definitely has the upper hand. This vegetation even seems to be gaining ground, waves of branches and roots encroaching on the sea, and not the contrary. This primeval forest is a thick tangle where everything that wants to grow finds a way to thrive. By dint of reading and accumulating knowledge, Furhana has managed to become an expert on her adopted land. She has even made it her job and works as a guide for people who want to discover the region.
This is a beautiful example of a lichen, and a lichen is a plant that's made up of a fungus and an algae. And the fungus makes the structure and the algae helps to make the food. So they grow very, very slowly. You can find this lichen throughout New Zealand. It's very common, and we call it a sample of a foliose leafy lichen. Yeah.
It's hard not to get lost in this maze of vegetation, beaches, and paths. For Hannah knows this island like the back of her hand, yet she feels as if she's learning something new every day.
This plant is called the mutton bird scrub, and it's very soft underneath. It's almost like leather. And the visitors used to write on the back of these leaves. They put a stamp, addressed them, and wrote a note. And the local postmaster would get these leaves, and he used to send them on. The softness of these leaves were favoured by both the Maori and the Europeans. When they went into the forest, they used this as toilet paper, and it worked very well. That's a tui, and the tui is a native New Zealand bird. It's got a beautiful range of songs. It's got 2 vocal cords.
And once again, the roaring Forties are playing their favorite symphony for wind instruments and percussion. For winds blowing in gusts, for winds whistling in the branches. For the squalls that whip up the sea as if urging the waves to play even louder. Stewart Island is an open-air theater where the elements are forever performing the same show, and they hardly ever take a day off. Quite a bizarre spot to live all year round. In summer, there are visitors that come to admire the natural beauty of the island. But in winter, it's another tune. After you've lived in the big cities of Europe, the one and only village of Stewart Island seems like a magical spot at first. Then you have to be able to make a life for yourself there. It seems that wasn't much of a problem for this former Londoner, for Hannah's house is so small we can't even visit it, except from the outside.
This is my wilderness chateau. It's very enjoyable being inside, whether it's a 10-bedroom chateau or a 1-bedroom chateau like mine. When the wind is outside and the rain is outside, inside it's your castle and it's really nice and warm. It's just in here. Oh, yeah. Yes, comfort is in the mind. I've got everything I need for the moment. I can read books, I can visit friends, and I can enjoy the birds in my garden and the plants in my garden. And I have the best duvet that you can buy on the market. So, yeah, I'm warm, I'm happy, and I've got this wonderful forest around me. And I'm being kind to the environment.
For Hannah has turned her back on what she calls the concrete jungle and the rat race, quoting the titles of 2 Bob Marley songs. Here, the jungle is vegetation, and the only racing we witness is that of the sun and the clouds in the sky.
There's some kiwi footprints here on the beach, and the kiwis will feed near the beach or in the forest. And this kiwi has been out early this morning, so we'll try and see if we can find one. A kiwi is a flightless bird. It's one of New Zealand's most ancient birds. and our national icon.
Forhana can take us to places where nobody else goes. But even so, there are no guarantees of spotting every single animal. And this time, we didn't manage to see any kiwis. This wingless bird is mainly active at night and is very shy. But there's always some curiosity to catch one's interest. You'd imagine them more in Africa, Central America, or in the Amazon. But there are indeed parrots living in these lands far down in the southern hemisphere.
It's one of 3 big parrots in New Zealand. All of these parrots are unique to New Zealand. And the kaka is the forest parrot. This parrot is feeding on the nut from this native tree, which is called miro.
New Zealand's human history is rather brief, and that's surely why natural history is so important to New Zealanders. They have no castles or cathedrals to preserve, but they do have this rich nature to safeguard, and to which they link their history.
This is a rimu, a very young rimu. They take about 500 to 600 years to fully grow. And when Captain Cook and his men sailed around New Zealand's coasts, they used to take the young branches of rimu. They boiled it, added molasses and yeast, and made a beer to stop scurvy. But I don't think it worked.
On Stewart Island, even the birds have their papers. Every year, there are major banding operations organized for certain species. And birds that aren't endemic are not welcome.
Where are you? We are waiting. Ah, Robin, Robin.
Forhana is a walking encyclopedia of Stewart Island's wildlife. And she has another particularity. She talks to the birds.
Up here. Just there. Like they showed you at the academy. Come on, Robin. The robin likes us because we disturb the ground when we walk, so insects can easily be found. So we call them opportunistic feeders. And the robin is not related to the European robin, but it behaves in a similar way, and its song is very similar. When modern land mammals evolved in the world, they didn't evolve in New Zealand 35 million years ago. And it was only when the Polynesians started to come to New Zealand about 1,000 years ago, and later the Europeans over 200 years ago, that they brought predators for our wildlife. But for millions of years, this country remained without predators. So most of our birds are very friendly.
The privilege of living on Stewart Island also means accepting the drawbacks. A rather restricted social life and rather harsh climatic conditions. Forhana's choice was obvious.
I think the country that you belong to isn't necessarily the country that you were born in or the country that you were brought up in. It's a country that you choose for the things that you value in life. I love the outdoors, I love the natural environment, and for me, this means New Zealand is the right country for me.
New Caledonia is an extraordinary strip of land surrounded by long barrier reefs and the unfathomable Pacific Ocean. Its vast lagoon holds a wealth of secrets waiting to be discovered. Scientists in Noumea are studying the behavior of sharks. These kings of the ocean are indispensable to the equilibrium of the underwater world.
Yes, bien joué les gars. Excellent.
Soaring over the world's most beautiful lagoons and discovering the wide open spaces of this land. On the main island of Grande Terre, adventure is waiting for those who dare to live out their dreams. Lifu in the Loyalty Islands promises a voyage back in time to a world steeped in Kanak legends and deeply rooted traditions. Exploring Lifu in the Loyalty Islands means plunging into Melanesian culture in search of a lost age and getting a glimpse of the invisible spirit of the Kanaks. Marcel Lapachas is a child of the Jokin tribe.
Jokin, ça veut dire zo.
Jokin is Jo,
C'est la lance.
meaning spear, and Keen, meaning key.
Toi, tu es la lance. Quand tu
So,
rentres ici,
you're the spear.
bon, t'es la lance. Tu rentres, t'arrives.
When you come here, you arrive. You walk around a bit,
Quand tu fais une connerie,
you do as you please, but when you mess up, you'll need a key to get out of the tribe.
sortir de la tribu. Ben moi, voilà.
So,
Peut-être moi, je saurais ta clé.
I'll be your key, and I'll show you the way out.
Tu vas te diriger vers la sortie.
That's what Jokin means.
C'est ça un peu la signification de Jokin. Voilà.
There are not many beaches around the island, but there are coral reefs. They're a living treasure, and everyone here watches over them. Marcel protects his fishing spots, his underwater garden where he harvests what he needs: fish, lobster, giant clams.
I was born on Lifu. I'm not a little chief. I'm not a big chief. No. I'm just myself. No frills or anything. I keep it simple.
La nature ici sur Lifou, elle est...
Nature here is generous here on Lifu. Nobody is dying of hunger. We have nature.
La nature, elle est là, il suffit
All you have to do is go out and serve yourself.
chercher ou quoi.
Kalemuelo mamange, bane que la croisine, bane que la iti huate, bemine la iti gutane juan, hana samida lo, hana samida kitiate.
La terre, elle est importante pour le Kanak parce qu'il a sa terre.
This is my land. The Kanak has his land. He doesn't need to go anywhere else. This is how I see things. I never felt the need to live anywhere else. I've always lived here. I made my choice.
C'est ici, voilà.
Hey, the court's over here.
It's summer in the South Pacific. During the school vacations, Marcel's nieces and nephews, who live in Noumea, an hour and a half away by plane, come to Lifu. So every summer, a dozen or so kids invade Uncle Marcel's house of happiness. It's also called the Beau Coin, the nice spot.
You see, we never get bored here. Ever since we were kids. Beau Coin is the name my father gave the house when he laid the first stone to build it.
They're preparing a family event away from prying eyes. Marcel wants to teach the children the secrets of making a bunya, a traditional Melanesian dish. Everyone pitches in with the preparation. They gather the ingredients, prepare the fire, choose the right banana leaves. Bunya is made with chicken, fish, and even bats. It's a traditional dish, rich with symbolism.
These are the first leaves you have to place in the bunya. You have to heat them to soften them up.
As
the children are here with us for the vacation, we'll take this opportunity to teach them how to cook bunya. Then they can eat it afterwards.
In front of the hut, everyone is working to make this event a solemn occasion. Bunya plays an important role in the social cohesion between the generations.
The family, the tribe's communal life, it's very important. We're always together in everyday life. And there may be some tension, sure, but the family, it's always the family.
La vie de tous les jours, mais voilà, la famille, ça reste la famille.
The basis of this emblematic dish is the yam, a symbol of honor and respect. The yam plays a role in the founding myth of Melanesian society. According to a Kanak legend, at the beginning of the world, the moon tossed a yam cake wrapped in banana leaves into the ocean. And this gave birth to Tea Kanake, the first man. Tea Kanake asked the spirits to teach him how to survive on Earth. Thus man learned the secrets of nature and the magic of stones and plants. Ever since, man has been farming the land, and the yam has remained an important symbol in Kanak society. This story, handed down through the ages, is what binds the Melanesians to their land.
The tribe lives here, on the edge of the cliffs. We have the cliffs, we have the sunset, we have it all. This is why I stay here, in my home as well, where I live with my wife and children. That's what keeps me here. Here we say I mind the house.
On dit je garde la maison, voilà, c'est ça.
Every day in the late afternoon, Marcel heads into the forest to work his land or set traps for coconut crabs.
If it rains tonight, we'll go out. They come out when it rains. They don't like it if it's too dry, if there's no rain.
Marcel is spitting bits of coconut meat all around the trap, a simple but very efficient way of chumming for crabs.
We turn the coconut with the hole facing down, okay? So when the crab comes, it's not going to be easy for him to eat. It's going to take some time. We make it hard for the crab by putting the opening, you see, underneath.
Now we just hope that the humidity and the smell of the coconut draw the crabs out of their holes. When night falls, Marcel checks his trap lines, just like a fur trapper.
Look, this trap here, it has a crab on it. But it's not very big. You see, they get a lot bigger than that. It takes a lot of force to try to pry them off. This one is, it's average size. Here are the claws, and the mouth between the two claws. And it uses these smaller claws here, you see, to scrape out the coconut meat through the hole we made and carry it to its mouth. It can break anything, pierce your skin and flesh, and then even crush your bones, even your fingers. Even my wrist. If it manages to grab my wrist, he can break it. That's for sure. But that's the more bigger ones.
There are no streams or rivers on Lifu. To get fresh water, the islanders have to climb down to an amazing reservoir of crystal clear water. The caves of Lifu are ritual sites. Some are connected to the ocean, and they are mostly unexplored. Marcel is going to enter the Ranono grotto. Angèle, a member of the site's caretaker clan, is guiding him. The site is taboo. To enter, one must pay homage to the spirits of the ancestors.
The two stones here symbolize two women. The invisible spirits. You have to perform the ritual gesture. Angèle told me to deposit leaves and stones to request the protection of the two guardians of the cave. So that's why we perform the ritual gesture. It's a sign of respect. In performing the ritual, we feel their presence. It's moving.
On ressent comme quoi, oui, c'est vrai que voilà. Puis c'est émouvant, c'est ça, c'est émouvant.
20 meters beneath the forest floor, the entrance to the grotto is nearly invisible. For generations, the members of Angel's tribe have been coming here to draw their drinking water. These reservoirs are fed by rainwater that seeps down through the porous limestone soil. This geological feature of Lifu has allowed people to settle permanently in the Loyalty Islands by providing them with a source of fresh water. In these huge hollows, nature and time have sculpted underwater cathedrals and created these eerie, surreal landscapes. In New Caledonia, everyone respects the taboo sites and the sacred spirit of the ancestors. The traditions and practices are transmitted in secret by word of mouth in the chief's longhouses.
The tribe is the heart of life here. Yes, there are other lives, other worlds, beyond the horizon. But I like it here, within the tribe. I have no regrets, and that's how life is. This is my life. I'm at home in my tribe. And that's pretty cool.
The island of Lifu is steeped in the Kanak spirit. Coming here is an encounter with the Melanesian soul and the free, generous beings that live here, like Marcel Lapachas, a man indispensable to the happiness of his family and all the children of the Jokin tribe. From Marcel's tribe in the Loyalty Islands to the lost valleys of Grande Terre, it's a 2-hour flight that transports us into another world. The center of the main island is a territory of mountains, forgotten forests, and inaccessible rivers. This is an island still tinged with adventure. Oana LaRue seems like she's running on pure adrenaline. She could have been Californian or Australian if her grandfather hadn't decided to settle in New Caledonia in the 1970s. The entire family has stayed ever since. This horsewoman is a student in Noumea. Whenever she gets the opportunity, she leaves the city to go galloping with Mina, her trusty mare.
This is where I was born and raised, so of course I'm right at home here. I really can't picture myself living anywhere else. You never know what the future has in store for you, but I think it would be hard for me to leave Caledonia for good. This is how I want to live my life, doing what I want, when I want, and not having to answer to anyone.
The inland territory on the main island is called La Brousse, the bush. Most of the people who live there, the Broussards, are descendants of the early French colonists, the Caldoches. Oana is quite familiar with this world where the myth of the Caledonian Wild West lives on. To satisfy her craving for the extreme, Oana practices free fly, a discipline of free fall. It takes place in the fleeting moments of weightlessness just before opening the parachute. Before every jump, Oana rehearses the figures she's going to execute.
This is a passion to go even further, a desire to test your limits, a desire for an adrenaline rush. It's a number of things. I need all that. All my activities revolve around it. I can't see myself spending an entire day in front of my computer. I need my nature, my freedom. I need my activities. It's very important to me. While we're going up in the plane, if we're doing a jump that's a little new, we'll run through the movements, like when we have to grab onto each other, etc. Then when it's time to jump, we don't think about anything anymore. We know exactly what we have to do. We're completely isolated in our own little bubble. This is quite simply one of the most beautiful spots on Earth. There are not many places where you get to jump over such a stunning landscape. We're really lucky here. It goes very quickly and then you land. But you manage to savor every second of the jump, so it seems to last a long time. That's the magic. It transforms 1 minute into a lasting moment. Every person has a favorite element. I feel great up there. I think it's my element. I feel like I'm flying. I feel wonderful. As if I were in total osmosis with the air.
Oana is heading for the west coast and the land of the stockmen, as the Caledonian cattle raisers are known, in reference to the cowboys of nearby Australia. Horseback is a good way to go meet the stockmen.
Hey.
Cindy Baronet grew up with horses and cattle in a rural environment where children learn to ride at the age of 3. Now Cindy runs the Nemeara farm.
It's something that's in your blood. Our parents and grandparents brought us up in this way of life. And we want to carry it on, to perpetuate it. It's a way of life.
The world of the stockmen has lost nothing of its authenticity. Cindy has 120 hectares of grazing land for her 40-odd head of cattle and horses.
Galope, Huon. Allez, galope.
Cindy studied ethology, animal behavior. She trains her horses herself.
C'est bien. Galope, galope, galope. Galope, galope. Galope. Allez, tourne, tourne. Galope. Oh là. Oh là là, le moindre petit...
The slightest movement has meaning for her.
dire quelque chose pour elle. Si moi je me positionne...
In my position, if I move towards her, she'll gallop. If I move back, she slows down.
Et eux, ils communiquent comme ça,
That's how horses communicate amongst themselves, by gestures and body movements.
Le principe de l'éthologie, voilà, c'est ça, c'est d'essayer de comprendre ça.
Understanding and reproducing this form of communication is the basis of ethology.
C'est vraiment intéressant parce que tous les chevaux sont différents en fait.
It's very interesting because each horse is different.
Caractères différents.
They each have their own personality. They learn slower or faster, so each way of training will be different.
C'est bien.
Oana used to do competitive equitation and jumping as well. She and Cindy share the same passion for horses, but in very different activities.
Oh là! Là, c'est la Calédonie.
This is the heartland of New Caledonia. The ranch, the training corral, the stockyard, the paddocks, the horses. There's a lot of cattle raising in Caledonia, so of course we need horses.
Forcément, on a besoin des chevaux.
They're an integral part of life here.
Keep driving them, Cindy. I'll go ahead.
In the dust of these parched lands, the two horsewomen have come to help Ghislain Santa Cruz round up part of his herd.
I'm going ahead, okay? Keep them coming.
Santa Cruz is one of Cindy's neighbors. He's something of a local legend and a notorious loudmouth. He has a herd of around 1,000 head of cattle and the iron will that goes along with it.
Bring him this way. No, to the left. To the foot of the hill.
Here, between mountain and lagoon, the drought has not spared his herd.
We're just praying it'll rain. How long can we hold out? All the cows here are calving right now. In a month, I'll have another 300 calves. 300. That's a lot. I remember some years when they'd kill the calves at birth to save the mothers. I really wouldn't want it to get to that point, well enough to be able to feed them, but I have seen years when they'd kill the newborn calves for the sake of the mothers. Well, if everyone does their job, the cows will be well kept, as they say. Oana, let him through! Come on!
In this heat, they have to coax the herd gently, keep the weakened animals from running, and figure out the boss's bellowed orders.
These are wide open spaces. The idea is to channel the cattle so none of them veer off to the side. It's very tricky. There's a lot of brush and the animals get into it. We don't always see them. I'm used to working with little herds of small, calm cows. This herd is huge, so it's not the same job. It needs several hands. It's not the same work. It's no picnic.
Allez, allez, vas-y, pousse, ma fille, pousse, pousse, pousse. Allez, 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 pas trop vite, pas trop vite, pas trop vite, passer derrière. Voilà, question. Allez, 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 allez. Regarde, comme ça, là.
Now watch, there. You see?
Ah ouais. On va essayer le plus gros.
I'll try with the big one.
También ça vient gros. Ah si, mais
Yeah.
elle est forte la gosse
This
là.
girl is strong.
There's a lot of testosterone in this business. It's a very, very masculine milieu. As a girl, it's not easy to prove yourself. Cindy really knows what she's doing. She's managed to earn their respect. That's good.
C'est bien.
Oana passed the initiation to Cindy's world, the rough and tumble world of the stockmen. After this taste of Cindy's everyday life, Oana can't wait to get back to the sky and the exhilaration of speed and altitude.
On souffle bien.
Take a deep breath.
On quitte l'avion.
We leave the plane, you maintain your position.
Sentir ce signal.
This morning, it's Oana's turn to invite Cindy into her world. She wants Cindy to share a unique experience, the thrill of a parachute jump over one of the world's most beautiful lagoons, along with their instructor, Maxime.
Tu vois, ça fait 25 kilos.
It's great to turn someone onto a new experience. Afterwards, you take the plunge yourself or not, but I think it's really worth sharing.
The plane has reached an altitude of 4,000 meters. The free fall will last 50 seconds. At close to 200 kilometers per hour, the speed deforms the body and sets your cheeks flapping. It's an intense, fleeting moment of pure, extreme sensations. From the sky or from a hilltop, the view of Cindy and Oana's land down under is breathtaking. A vast expanse of matchless beauty where adventure is never very far away. In New Caledonia, the mountains in the region of the Stockman overlook the immense Barrier Reef, one of the most beautiful in the world. The wealth of underwater life makes the reefs an ideal field of study for marine biologists. These unspoiled reefs are home to large schools of sharks. Germain Boussary, a French marine biologist, has decided to spend his time and energy in the study of shark behavior. Uvea is an isolated parcel of land in the Loyalty Islands. In the tradition of this atoll, the shark is an emblematic sacred animal. It is even the protective totem of several clans on the island. Just the thing to arouse Germain's curiosity. Ever since his childhood in the south of France, he's dreamed of living a life dedicated to the underwater world and the shark, king of the oceans.
Dans l'imaginaire collectif,
For most people, sharks are frightening animals.
qui sont respectés, mais à la fois.
They're both respected and feared.
Alors que finalement,
Whereas they are, in fact, just animals that you have to treat with a lot of respect. Because they are, after all, predators. I mean, a shark isn't sad. It's neither cruel nor kind. It's just an animal that feeds on its prey.
se nourrir de proie. J'aimerais juste montrer à tout le monde.
I would like to show everyone that being afraid of them is not going to protect the sharks. It's by diving with them, going to see them. I think it's something that everyone should get a chance to do.
In Kanak culture, the land and the sea belong to the tribes. So before undertaking any project in Uvea, Germain must ask permission of the elders of the Muli tribe. The elders here tell that the sharks once saved their ancestors by guiding their pirogues through the reefs. Ever since, anyone who hunts them is cursed with misfortune and disease. Beneath the chief's longhouse of Muli, Germain has come to request permission to approach the sharks. Respecting the custom means humbly asking for the protection of the elders.
En rentrant dans la case,
As I enter the chief's foray here in Muli, I bow before you.
je me abaisse devant vous,
I come with the utmost humility to share with you a very moving personal moment.
venir partager avec vous ce moment qui pour moi est très fort. C'est avec beaucoup d'émotion du coup que je viens vous offrir.
I perform this ritual with you with a great deal of emotion.
Avec votre accord,
With your permission, we hope to dive and meet these animals on their own territory,
et finalement,
to deepen our knowledge of them in a habitat where they are truly protected and have thus maintained their natural behavior.
et donc on pourra noter et essayer de comprendre.
There we can take notes and attempt to understand why we humans have such a great impact on sharks.
Sur ces requins.
You have things to do. If you can call on the inhabitants of Muli, you will be able to do these things. The door is open to you.
An exchange of words and an exchange of gifts. Germain has gained access to the ritual path.
You are welcome here. Thank you.
In his 6 months living here in New Caledonia, Germain has been discovering the riches of the Kanak culture. The island of Uvea is located on the edge of the Coral Sea. It's home to large schools of sharks. Germain has come to this remote corner of the Pacific to dive with these great predators.
This is going to be a great dive. Look, there. You see, just below the surface? Wonderful. Another one. And there's a younger one. Look at the big one.
He has to see you.
Marino is a native son of Uvea and an excellent diver. He has agreed to show us his secret spots that are literally swimming with sharks.
Be a shark.
Germain is going to profit from Marino's experience. The young scientist is very concentrated. He's getting ready for an encounter like no other in the animal world.
me suis senti tout petit au milieu de ces requins.
I felt so small in the midst of those sharks.
Puis finalement, on leur place.
It really hits you in a moment like that.
On s'en rend compte à ces moments-là.
They're really the lords of the sea.
Ces requins d'une vingtaine.
When you're in the middle of 20 or 30 sharks, you have a certain respect.
Un respect. Ils sont curieux.
They're curious. They come over to take a look at you.
Moi sous l'eau.
You're something new for them.
J'ai essayé de disparaître. J'étais bien.
I tried to disappear down there.
Je me suis senti bien finalement.
I felt good.
J'ai tout oublié.
I forgot everything. Time, gravity. Down there with those sharks circling me.
J'ai essayé aussi de les comprendre.
I tried to put myself in their place, to understand them,
Comment ils pouvaient réagir,
to see how they might react.
de voir ce que je représentais pour eux aussi. Ce sont des gros animaux, des animaux.
These are potentially dangerous animals with big sharp teeth, so of course they frighten kids and everybody else. But in the end, they're magnificent, harmless animals when you enter their habitat, when you go down to observe them.
Descend sous l'eau pour les observer. On se rend compte, en les connaissant,
As you get to know them, you realize that they are just living beings and have no interest in humans.
Germain, like all scientists, knows that it is urgent to protect sharks. They are one of the ocean's most vulnerable and endangered species. In New Caledonia's Coral Sea Natural Park, shark fishing has been totally prohibited since 2013.
Super.
C'était beau. Il faut pas oublier qu'on est juste.
We have to remember that these animals merely tolerate us in the oceans, in the lagoon.
Par ces animaux.
They're the lords of the sea, and they call the shots down there.
Moi, je pars du principe que pour les observer,
I work on the principle that to observe them,
un petit peu rentrer en dialogue avec
to
eux,
establish a dialogue with them,
comprendre leur comportement.
I have to assume a neutral approach,
Un état neutre, une approche neutre, et
to do nothing unnatural to provoke an interaction with them.
pour interagir avec eux de manière non naturelle.
Germain has always dreamed of traveling, of adventure and science. This morning he's leaving Ouvéa to go to Nouméa on Grande Terre, the main island. The young 24-year-old scientist is beginning his marine biology thesis on sharks and has recently joined the APEX project, an ambitious undertaking of the New Caledonia's Institute of Research and Development, the IRD. The IRD researchers have proven that the shark population around the inhabited areas of New Caledonia has dropped by 90%, with dramatic consequences on the reefs, as well as for the future of the oceans. In this remote corner of the world, a team of scientists is working to prove that man influences the behavior of sharks, which are indispensable for the equilibrium of the oceans. This is the goal of the oceanographic mission to which Germain is wholly committed. A 3-hour boat trip to the south is the Amédée Lighthouse. Today's mission is to catch and release gray or white-pointed sharks.
On va viser le tombant et de toute façon ça dérive parallèle au récif donc il n'y a pas de problème.
For a year now, the IRD team has been carrying out regular missions at sea in order to implant sharks with radio tags and take samples of their DNA.
Note down the tag number, 57786.
This technique will allow the scientists to track the sharks from a distance. They've already tagged about 100 specimens with this radio device, but in areas quite far from human activity. As they make new captures closer to Noumea, they'll be able to cross-reference the data that they've gathered.
We know that if the sharks disappear from New Caledonia's lagoon, the biodiversity will drop, as will the productivity of the fish. So, of course, the coral will not be as beautiful. All the fishermen who have been to those remote areas say that in a spot where there are fish, there will be a lot of sharks. That's a normal situation for an ecosystem, a lot of sharks. If the sharks disappear, then it all disappears. If we want to preserve the vast lagoon with all its riches, we have to try to preserve the sharks.
Ok. Tu me dis, on est bon?
We okay? Let's go.
Allez, c'est parti. Allez, on croise les doigts.
Like all fishermen, the scientists need a good dose of patience.
This is the first time we're fishing in a zone so close to human activity. We've been here for 2 hours. I think we could be here all day. I hope we get at least one. That's how it is. When we go out to virgin territory, we throw in the line and in 30 seconds we get a shark. We release it and 5 minutes later we catch another one. Here we go. Wait, wait.
Ok, ben là, ça y est, ça mord. Donc on a un petit requin.
We got a hit. We hooked into a little shark. He's not tugging too hard. We'll go as fast as we can so as not to hurt him. We have to go quickly. Now we'll ease him into the harness, take all our samples, then let him go. Good news. We've been out here for 3 hours and this is our first fish.
The shark is putting up a fight. The operation has to be done quickly. They mustn't tire the shark.
Ah, sympa. Allez, mon beau. Ok. Ok, on est bon, on est bon, on est bon.
Okay, we're good here. We've got him.
Oh, il est beau, lui. Oh, ils sont beaux. Magnifique.
It's a tricky moment for the shark, immobilized at the surface of the water. Germain has only a few minutes to measure the fish and take his blood and DNA samples. Then he has to make the incision to implant the radio tag.
Marche avant, ouais, s'il te plaît, un peu vers tribord.
A little to starboard. That will give him some oxygen.
Donc là, tout va bien pour lui.
He's okay there. He won't feel a thing on his fin.
Je prélève un petit morceau.
I'm going to take a little sample.
La nageoire du requin va contenir de l'ADN.
The fin contains DNA.
Pouvoir en déduire.
With it, we'll be able to work out the genetic relationship with other sharks we've sampled.
Comme ça, voir un petit peu où est-ce
We'll learn where they migrate for reproduction.
Avec ce deuxième bout de nageoire, on peut
The second bit of fin will allow us to deduce the shark's feeding habits,
où est-ce qu'il va manger.
whether he goes to feed out in the open sea or in the lagoon, etc.
Tu l'as? Ah, excellent, super. Ok. J'insère le tag acoustique.
I'm inserting the radio tag.
Tag is placed in the gray shark's belly. It will emit a signal for 4 years. It's time to release the fish without harming it. For Germain, The operation was a success. Each capture is a victory for the scientists, and each release is a very moving moment that gives full meaning to their research.
Great work, guys. Well done. It's an unnatural encounter. We catch the shark so we have a certain domination over it. I prefer the shark to be underwater, at ease in his own element, and I visit his habitat rather than the other way around. It gives you a kind of adrenaline rush. You have to keep under control to keep working calmly and efficiently. Most important, you mustn't hurt the shark. We're always happy when the shark swims off unharmed.
In a few months, 200 sharks will be equipped with radio tags. The data gathered will be a gold mine of information. It will allow the scientists to determine the maritime zones that need to be preserved as sanctuaries for the sharks. In New Caledonia, the scientific community has given itself 4 years to solve the mystery of the disappearance of the reef sharks, indispensable to the equilibrium of the lagoons.
My dream for the future would be to continue this way of life, to continue protecting the sharks, to observe them, and make people aware that it's possible to live with them, to leave them alone, to let them play their role of predator. I know that in 10 years, I'll still be working with sharks.
Fiji, an archipelago located in the Pacific Ocean. Of its more than 300 islands, only about 100 are inhabited. In these parts, life rolls along to the lazy rhythm of the long ocean swell. There are 3 colors to the Fijis: the white of the long beaches, the turquoise blue of the lagoons, and the green of the jungle. And rugby is a religion here. Frank, a rugby coach, chose to combine the easy life of the islands with his passion for the oval ball. He combs the villages of the outlying islands, hoping to discover the rare gem of Fijian rugby. Hannah is a surfing champion. She and her friend Issei are in search of the perfect wave. Their quest will take them all the way to Cloudbreak, one of the most beautiful waves in the world. For Hannah, the ocean is her lifeblood. Manasa lives in Benga, an unspoiled atoll where the traditional rituals form the bedrock of the community. In the shelter of the barrier reef, just a stone's throw from the village, Manasa goes diving with his son Tunbi to feed their guardian angels, the shark gods.
I live in a very little paradise, you know. I don't want to stay in overseas, Australia, America, maybe France or Europe. I like my little world. It looks like this. No big, no small. I live this in my heart.
The Fiji Islands, located in the heart of the Pacific Ocean, are isolated from the rest of the world. Situated 2,000 kilometers north of New Zealand and about 3,000 kilometers east of Australia, these volcanic islands are made up of mountains covered with tropical forest. It's a corner of the world where time has never mattered, perhaps because the weather is so clement all year round.
Before Christianity, many people in Fiji believe that they need a guardian. We're supposed to have a guardian. That is before Christianity. So many people in Fiji, they choose different types of nature. They choose nature, like a little mountain, ocean, moon, sun. But the people from my village, they choose sharks to be their sea god. So the story goes like that. We believe that the sharks in the oceans, those are our guardian. As soon as we jump in the water, we don't have any fear because the same guardian is looking after us. You know, ocean, they rule the ocean, right? Sharks rules the ocean. They balance the ocean. Okay, when we jump in the water to meet them, we respect them.
Manasa Bulivu has been diving under the protection of his shark gods every day for the last 15 years. These turquoise waters were part of his childhood, and his first dive was a revelation. Ever since, he has been doing his best to preserve this underwater realm and protect the coral barrier reef. Every weekend, Manasa takes his family to the island of Benga, where he was born, across from the main island. The ferry does a daily run and takes 2 hours to make the crossing. Everyone on the boat knows Manasa. They even call him Papa. He holds a very important position in his community. He is the village spokesman. Rukua is a little village like so many others in the Fijis. A few houses by the lagoon, coconut trees, no roads, no stores, and villagers enjoying the good life.
That is my village. This is where I was raised. This is from my ancestor, my great-great-grandfather. And until today, I have a family, and this is my home. My son, my daughter, they all born in this village. I found my beautiful wife in this village, so I don't have to go away. Everything is right there, and the ocean behind me, that is our resources, and we respect the animal in the ocean. because we believe that we are one. So it is like a freedom paradise. This is nobody want to live. We want to stay here forever. Yes. I have a little bit of heart problem. In 2007, I was in hospital, and since then, my whole life changed. It's changed completely. Yeah. I choose the way to be a very honest Christian, to worship the mighty God. And I'm very proud to be a preacher and look after a church.
The everlasting life is only given by the Master himself. Hallelujah. By God himself. By the Lord Jesus himself. No one can give this life. It's only him himself.
In the Fiji Islands, Sunday is a day devoted to prayer. Several families have come by boat from the island's other villages to attend Manasa's services. Afterwards, the parishioners stay to share a meal together.
It's the traditional ways, like to share. Like Fiji, the standard of living is low, so most of the family that doesn't have like a source of income. So that's why we share. The more we give, the more we get.
This morning, they're preparing for a traditional ceremony in the forest. The young men of this island have a special gift, walking barefoot over burning stones, the fire walk. Tunbi, Manasa's son, is going to participate for the first time.
Long time waiting.
I've been waiting for a long time. 26 years now. I moved to the mainland when I was small, just a small boy. And now today I'm here to do the fire walk.
I'm gonna do the firework today. Yeah.
It's good. I'm very excited about this.
Tunbi must present himself before the sacred fire with a pure heart, and for that there are a few rules to respect.
He's been very honest with a promise. No coconut for 4 nights and no woman for 4 nights. It's really tough for the young people. No woman for 4 nights. Yeah? I told the priest, I think 2 nights is okay. But the priest said, 4 nights.
The stones have been heating in the fire pit for 5 hours. The ceremony can begin. The men are totally concentrated. They're invoking the spirits and asking them for the ancestral power that only the village inhabitants possess.
We walked on fire. Yeah, no pain. The stones felt cold.
It's okay.
It's the power of the fire walk. We gather it here, and we use it to walk over the stones.
On the island of Benga, legends and the supernatural encroach on reality. Manasa is proud of his son who has braved the sacred fire and stones for the first time. Toonbi loves diving just as much as his father. Today, like every day, they're going to see their second family, the sharks.
So I'm just about to get ready to introduce myself to the underwater world. Most of the animals, they know me very well the last 15 years. So still I have to use this. They know Papa very well. I feel great because when I put my wetsuit on, my fins, my mask, with the tank behind me, to enter that world down there, it's something that's in my heart. I know because in the underwater world, there is my guardian there. He looks after myself, my son. The life is very different down there because you see the fish, they don't know anything about, the war, about what is going on up here. They're very friendly, so I want to put myself just like them.
Since he had his heart attack, Manasa doesn't dive more than a few meters down. Tunbi has taken over from his father. He has a rendezvous in the depths with other sharks, the bulldogs. Manasa shares his life between these two worlds. On land, he's actively involved in the community of Rukua. He's one of the pillars of the village. In the depths, he's the privileged witness and guardian of an underwater realm. Manasa knows that these two worlds are inextricably linked and complementary.
We want to keep this bay and this place as it is. As you can see, there is no building, no cars, no boat, just us. And we want to keep the population of my village as low as we are. Yeah? In another 10, 15 years' time, I believe in my heart, this place will be still the same. And then we will pass it over to our generation to come when I will be old. My grandchildren, you go there and use the land.
There's waves, but it's trying. I think it's probably high tide, and the swell is probably not big enough.
Hannah Bennett and Issei Tukovu are two of the best surfers in the Fijis. They spend days on end in search of the best waves.
It's good to, envision yourself before you're out surfing, and hopefully it'll be some fun waves. So, yeah, concentrate, but surfing is fun. Not too serious. It's for fun. Yep. So there's my wax. Check my fins. Make sure they're on tight.
Hannah, who's 22 years old, is a surfing champion. She competes under the Fijian flag in international meets, and she recently won the Melanesian Cup, a meet open to the best surfers of this part of the Pacific Ocean.
It takes one wave to fall in love with surfing, but it also takes one wave to just completely not want to do it again. But when you fall in love with it, it's so worth it. It's, you know, words can't really describe it. You forget about the paddling, how hard it is. You forget about, you know, almost drowning sometimes just for that feeling, because it's very in the moment, and it's very intimate with the ocean, with nature.
Hannah grew up in Rotuma, a remote group of islands in the northern Fijis. Her life goes from one side of the Pacific to the other, from California, where she's finishing up a degree in international trade, to Fiji, where she has her roots and comes to recharge her batteries.
Earth is the water planet. It's everything, you know, it's all around us, it's in us. Physically, you can't live without water, but also mentally, I don't think I could live without being surrounded by the ocean. As a person, I need water. I need the ocean to mentally be healthy and stay sane in a way. I could never live in the desert or inland or in cities for years at a time. Wherever I go, you know, it's always based off of where the ocean is going to be.
To set sail on the high seas, an adventure that has always inspired humanity. Ever since the dawn of time, the most daring souls have challenged the horizon in search of new lands.
Flat, right, go. Go up. Jet. Too much fuel. Ole! Ole! Hard over starboard.
It's generally thought that migration to the islands of the Pacific proceeded gradually, starting in southern China. The men and women who would discover the largest ocean on Earth first made a sojourn for several generations in Taiwan. Their most intrepid descendants pressed onward to what is now the Philippines and Indonesia. Sailing from island to island, those adventurers explored the Pacific in the hope of conquering unknown lands. Those mariners opened new routes towards virgin territory. Once they had settled Vanuatu, they were within 800 kilometers of the Fiji Islands. The Fijian people have their distant roots in a group of exceptional seafarers. In 2011, a German philanthropist decided to revive that epic journey in his own way. He built several traditional sailing canoes to undertake a sea odyssey across the Pacific to California. Hannah followed the expedition very closely. She was even a crew member when this boat first took to sea off the coast of Fiji. Angelo, a skilled sailor, quite naturally became skipper of this mythical craft, the Uto ni Yalo, Heart of the Spirit.
Dion, select this one. Fast. There were 7 canoes like this, all the same, different islands, like Samoa, Tahiti had 1, New Zealand had 2. So we sailed as a fleet, just raising awareness and trying to prove that what our ancestors did, we can still do it. You know, we proved that we don't need fuel to travel so far, and we did it, you know. The voyage was 20 months in total. Days in sea, the longest we were out there was 31. No land, no TV, nothing, yeah. Just looking at a lot of flying fish and
That's pretty much it.
These latter-day seafarers accomplished the entire crossing without the help of any navigational instruments, just like their ancestors. No charts, no GPS, no sextant. The sailors on board were armed with no more than their daring, their keen intuition, and the stars to guide them across these vast expanses.
That knowledge is being lost now. Only a handful of people, they know it. So one guy in Satawal, in Micronesia, he taught 5 people. His wish was for that 5 to teach more. So we were lucky we had 3 of the 5 on the voyage.
Yeah, that was a big part of people's lives back then, you know, our ancestors, this is what they did. And to see it, you know, unfold and people try to practice it the same way is a beautiful thing. It's reviving our culture again, and it's reminding the next generations of who we are.
Every time Hannah comes back to the Fijis to train, she connects with Ise. He's like a big brother, but he's also an exceptional surfer who knows these islands better than anyone else. To get out to the open sea and the rollers, Hannah and Ise have to cross a vast mangrove swamp, a sort of natural passage from the world of land dwellers to the realm of the surfers. Cloudbreak is one of the most beautiful waves in the world. It's like an El Dorado for surfers. Every year, the world's surfing elite comes here for a prestigious international meet. The jury officiates from a stand built right in the sea facing the legendary wave.
For me, the perfect wave is a feeling. That's very hard, I think, when you're surfing. It's very in the moment, and it goes by so fast sometimes you don't appreciate, or you can only reflect on it after you've surfed the wave. But for me, the perfect wave is being able to actually recognize that feeling as you're surfing the wave. So a nice, long, good-sized wave that as you're surfing it, you're aware of how good the feeling is,
Yeah. Nice, babe. Woo! It's very easy to shoot waves in Fiji. The waves are so nice here. The light is perfect. Water is blue. You don't have to be a very good photographer to take great photos here. It's really easy. Look at this place. It's beautiful all by itself.
Surfers form their own tight-knit community, and Stewart is a well-known figure at Cloudbreak.
Beautiful. Come have a look at your shots. So many sick ones. Look at this shot. You're gonna freak out. This is like a magazine cover. Check this out.
Oh, wow.
These waves have traveled for thousands of miles from a storm here off Antarctica, all across the ocean, and you wait for them. And then you ride their energy, and you can feel the whole energy of the ocean go through your body, and you forget every worry of the world. You can't pay for that. There's no drug, there's no therapy you can do that is better than surfing. It's like being hugged by the entire ocean. It's a really great feeling.
Surfers don't pit themselves against the ocean and the waves. They strive to become their accomplices and play with the elements in order to reach a state of pure pleasure. To become one with the forces of nature, a challenge that one throws down only to oneself.
You feel very vulnerable, but very powerful at the same time. You know, sometimes I'm the biggest scaredy cat out there. I'm terrified, but that's when I feel most alive. The ocean is like my second home. You know, we're brought up around the ocean and nature, and you learn to adapt a lot to your surroundings, and that's a great skill to have. This is where I was born and raised, and I wouldn't have it any other way. This is my home base. I mean, everywhere I go, it's almost as if it makes me appreciate Fiji even more, and it makes it just as special.
There were a lot of sailors in my family. My great-uncles, my uncles. They sailed the South Pacific a lot, and they brought back a lot of souvenirs that would just stir our imagination. And in particular, when we were little, my brother and I had a book on Tahiti in Polynesia with a picture of an island girl on the beach, and she was bare-breasted. It was really quite alluring. That's what set me to dreaming about the South Pacific ever since. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's the honest truth.
Frank Boisvert is heading for Bukama, a village in the Yasawa Islands isolated in the northwest of the Fijis. Frank has been an international rugby trainer for more than 40 years. Whenever he can, he goes from island to island meeting the village rugby clubs. He's also out to spot the young talents that may someday play in the world's leading clubs. Fiji is a major rugby power in the Pacific. And in fact, if it weren't for its international reputation in this sport, the archipelago would be completely forgotten. Frank has been living in the Fijis for 17 years, but this is the first time he's come to train the players of Bukama. Still, everyone knows him because he worked with the national rugby sevens team here.
Fiji is the furthest island here. It's Sawa, and that's the furthest village there, Sawirara.
It's a new adventure each time, but more important, there's the notion of sharing. They really like to share their experience, their history. That's part of how they teach the sport here, because the rugby in Fiji really meshes quite well with their culture and traditions, and also with their history of warring between villages. Now they don't make war anymore, but the village over there comes every Saturday to play that village down there. So in a way, they're carrying on their warrior rituals of the past.
In Fijian rugby, the clan spirit is an essential element. Each match begins with the thimbi, a warrior dance designed to provoke and intimidate the adversary. Rugby is a combat sport, and in the Fijis, the warrior enjoys a privileged social status, even more so than a school teacher or a doctor.
If God invented rugby, he surely invented it for the Fijians, and in particular, sevens rugby, no doubt about it. And I think that's just what God did. He invented rugby for the Fijians, the Tongans, and the Samoans. Seriously, it's a blessing for these countries because it can channel all the energy of the youth and the warrior spirit that goes with it to defend their village, to defend their island. It's essential, so we have to use that.
The coach is waiting in the village. Something we don't know, we learn from him. And the first time too, we see Frank. We just hear his name on the radio, see on the TV. First time to see him.
Organic goalposts. Respect for the environment. We use what we have at hand to construct the goalposts. This is genuine rugby, like we used to play as kids in the villages of southern France, in Catalonia, and in Occitania. We used to do things like this, so for me, this is like going back to my roots.
There are some 200 Fijians playing in different French rugby clubs, and the demand keeps rising for these rugby artists with their singular style, a mixture of power and improvisation.
I've had the good fortune to discover players in their unpolished state. I often cite the example of two players I recruited right from their village. They were practically barefoot, with just a t-shirt, and they were fish farmers to help their parents support the family. And 6 to 9 months later, there I am at the National Stadium in France, watching them play in the finals of the top 14 in front of 80,000 people. A thrilling moment. Just fantastic.
Being a rugby trainer in the Fijis means dealing with the oppressive heat and the slow rhythm that goes along with it. For the moment, there are only children in Bukama. No sign of any players yet.
I think we're going to be running on Fiji time, meaning practice will begin around 3:30, 4 o'clock. Maybe. Time is a vague notion on the island because no one has a watch. There is no time. So we'll just wait and see. A good coach should always arrive before his players. That's not very hard here.
Hola, Charlie. How are you? How was work?
Good, good.
Yeah, yeah. Your teammates, they're gonna come soon?
Yeah, soon.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Take the coconuts and we're gonna go in that part of the field, eh? For now, all right? It's this part of the field is better. Okay, let's go. Oh, yeah. When you do the group game, then I blow whistle up, then you go long passes. Ready, go! Get out of the way, guys. A time inside shoulder, good. Well done. Ready, go!
They're not used to training. They're not used to having strict practice sessions, not used to organized drills. So you have to break them into the routine. But once you do, they take the ball and run with it.
Straighten up. Good. Very good. All right.
You just have to give them a few pointers, put a little order into their game. And once that's done, they know how to do the rest.
Good. All right. Pass. 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 Put it down. Put it down. Run away. Reline. 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 Good. All right. Go.
They play for fun, to relax, which is a strong point because I think you need a playful dynamic to do well in sports. You really have to have fun, enjoy it, and all the rest will flow naturally. The really nice thing about these islanders is that their basic motivation is the joy of playing.
Good! Pace the ball! Go!
Thanks to his reputation, Frank is respected by everyone here. Today, he's training future players, but Fijian trainers as well. He has also set up a prisoner rehabilitation program. Frank is teaching them the profession of referee.
I think rugby is a social regulator. You'll notice that in countries where there's not as much rugby, the crime rate's extremely high, but not here in the Fijis. And I noticed the same thing in Tonga and Samoa. All the young people play rugby. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they get out of school, they get off work, they come in from the fields and they play rugby. And when the match is finished and they've gotten rid of all their aggressive hormones, they're worn out, with no energy left to go out and get themselves into trouble.
All right. Crouch. Bind. Set. Good. All right. Look at that. Beautiful there. Yes. All right.
There are no roads to speak of here, so people get around with the village's one motorized pirogue. In the Yasawa Islands, they even bus the children to school by boat. In Bukama's village school, there are 3 levels in each class, and the children learn English right from the first grade. English and rugby, both legacies of the British colonization. At recess, Frank organizes a rugby match. It's France versus Fiji.
All right. Hey, so you score a try over there? Got it? And you guys score a try over there? Right?
Yes.
So you must pass the ball to one girl?
Yes.
All right, and we must have 3 passes.
Oh, that's a nice pass. Keep going. Hey. Okay, knock up. Ball to France. Here we go. Here we go.
The women of Fiji are struggling to free themselves from the weight of tradition. And Frank is convinced that sports are one of the best ways they have to achieve that goal. Promoting women's rugby has been a personal crusade of Frank for 30 years. He's convinced that playing rugby in school will bring about a change in people's attitudes.
Come on, guys.
Naka, eh? That was fun, eh?
Yeah.
All right. You like rugby, yeah?
Yeah.
That's very good, and you're going to be a very good player. Yeah, you're going to be a very good player. All of you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Women's rugby is really taking off now. And here in Fiji, we have the Fijianas.
Maybe you can play for Fijiana, eh? Qui est l'équipe nationale.
The national team who beat New Zealand back in October and were world champions in sevens rugby. So they have enormous potential, which we'll have to nurture in order to take on the really big teams.
Okay, let's do have a cheer. Let's go. Okay?
Frank continues his voyage on to the next island, on to the next rugby pitch. As a trainer, Frank has always sought to transmit his passion and love for this sport.
It's very important to me that the Fijian trainers and coaches be competent so that they can carry on the work themselves and not depend on the know-how of us Westerners. As the saying goes, it's more important to teach a person to fish rather than fish for them. That has been the guiding philosophy in my work here. I always try to stand back a bit and help them to grow and develop.
For Frank, rugby in the Fijis is a lovely romance between a game imported from the other side of the planet and a people born to play it.